Welcome to another episode of the Rhythm of the Road podcast. This podcast is not just about the journey, but also about the growth, transformation, and self-discovery that comes with life on the proverbial road. Grab a cup of joe, buckle up, and let's embark on a journey of self-discovery, creativity, and entrepreneurship. Let's get rolling.
All right, you avid listeners, thank you and welcome back to another episode of Rhythm of the Road podcast. How is the beginning of your year going? Who have you connected with? Who have you already started collaborations with? I think it's time for you to start shining that light. What things are you trying to do and accomplish for this year? And what are your goals? And what are the action steps you're taking to make those goals happen? Because if you're taking those consistent, small, connected wins and making those actions and putting them together, by the end of the year, you're not only going to meet those goals, but you're actually going to exceed them. Here's a really important part that I think that some people forget, and maybe it's not forget, but sometimes we just get so busy running for our goals and hustling for our year that there's two really powerful things that can help you shine even brighter, whether it be in your life, in your relationships, in your business, in your family, however that is. And that's connection and collaboration. And, connection can be like an acquaintance. Connection can be someone that you met in high school and you still stay connected with. Connection can be the next person that you're going to meet when you walk down the street. Connection can be what kind of impact or what kind of connection am I going to have with people the next time I speak on a stage, or the next time that I deliver a podcast, or the next interview and conversation that I have with somebody. All of those things are connections, and it gives you an opportunity to meet people, to know people, to understand yourself, and then take that and bring it back into your life and go, how can I use those connections? And using connections isn't a bad thing. Sometimes people are like, you're not using people, but you're using your ability to connect with people and then using those connections to help those people and help yourself. There are opportunities out there for everybody all of the time. And I think sometimes when we think of those connections, or we think of calling in favors, well, we're not calling in favors. If you're making real, authentic connections with people, those connections are going to happen and they're going to be reciprocal, which makes them even more powerful. Somebody's going to be like, hey, I loved hearing what Jeremy had to say on his podcast, or when I heard him speak at that event, or I loved, hearing him on that interview. I think he would be a great person to connect with. And then you've just planted that seed. You don't know when that is going to continue to grow. You don't know when that's going to come to light, but it will come down the road. I can't tell you how many times I've had people come to me over the course of, let's just call it the last decade, and be like, I heard you on, or I saw that you were at, or do you remember me when? And I can tell you honestly, almost every one of those times is a minimum of a year ago or more. And usually it's more, because when you're traveling and as a musician, you're touring and you're seeing and meeting lots of people. And when I'm speaking at events throughout the year, you might just meet someone for 5 minutes, but those 5 minutes were very impactful for that person. And those connections on those stages were important to that person. And so as you're doing that, you're making those connections. And here's the part that you can take it one step further. Of those connections that you have and that you're creating, which of those connections can you collaborate with? Because there's nothing more powerful and more synergistic than collaboration. It gives you the opportunity to not only have two minds are better than one, right? It's more than just a cliche, right? Two minds really are better than one, or three minds are better than one. It just creates an opportunity for a creative moment or an inspirational moment or more in-depth opportunity when you have that collaboration. My friend Mark, who I've been writing songs with and producing and releasing songs with for just actually next month, it will be 3 straight years that we've released a minimum of one song every single month. Now, we started out more gangbusters than that. So we were doing like a song a week for a minute, which was crazy and insane. But we had that connection and that collaboration and that ability to work together at that pace because we had each other. And so when you have that synergistic collaboration, it makes things easier. In fact, it brings an energy to the collaboration that gives you an opportunity to grow even faster. And so think about who those connections would be. And in my experience, it's been in some of the most unlikely situations or things that I haven't thought about, which is exactly what you want it to be, because that means that person connected, that collaborator connected to a part of your brain or a part of your person that needs to be pulled out. In last episode, I talked about being authentically me as my word for this year. And so as we're talking about that, I want to be as authentic in those collaborations as I can, right? And you need to make those connections and deepen those connections and see where they go. And not all of them are going to work like Mark and I's, where you're going to have that connection and collaboration that's going to go for that long. You might have some that work for a small period of time or just a season. I like to call them seasons because seasons come and seasons go. It doesn't mean that they're good or bad or indifferent, right? We're still going to I live in Minnesota currently. So we get winter, spring, summer, fall. We get all 4 seasons, sometimes varying lengths of each of them, but they're all going to happen at some point in time. And so seasons happen and seasons come and seasons go, and they're supposed to. Even if you make an amazing connection and you have an amazing collaboration, it doesn't have to, or it doesn't need to last forever. It can go, you can move on and move through it and learn from it and grow from it and have those opportunities. And it can be a win for everybody involved. And then you can both move on, or all 4 of you move on, or all 10 of you move on. Who knows? That sounds like a big collaboration. I don't know that I've ever had something with more than 5 people. However, who knows? Maybe that's in my future. I don't know. I'm not discounting it. I'm not going to push it away. As you go through the day or the week or the year, think about, who are these connections that you have? What connections are you making? And then which ones do you need to make those goals happen? Which ones do you want to make so that it makes your heart and your mind and your soul light up and shine your light to be the most authentically you can be? Now, that's my word, doesn't need to be your word, but I think all of us should work a little harder at being as authentic as we can in all of the spaces that we're in. So with that, go out there, make those connections, collaborate, share those collaborations below, because you might inspire some other people who are listening and watching this to come up with an idea of their own, or they might see your comment below and they might want to collaborate with you. My friend John told me about a story yesterday that he just made a random post of an album of asking for a request of something, and somebody hit him up, and like they've been collaborating and diving deep and creating records and songs and albums and playing gigs together for the last year. And it's been incredible. And it's just because he said and requested this one thing, and it was mostly to do with him posting an album cover and that person liking the album cover. So put those comments below. What collaborations are you doing? What do you need help with? What connections do you need? How can I help you? What connections do you need? I'm here to help. Also, make sure to like and subscribe, hit all the buttons, do all the things, make things happen. Share this episode with somebody that you think that you would like to connect or collaborate with. What a great opportunity to connect with a collaboration by just dropping this episode and having them listen. They might be like, dang, I really want to connect and collaborate with that person. I'm glad they shared this episode. So with that, there's your homework. Let me know how it goes. See you on the next episode.
Thanks for cruising with me on this episode of Rhythm of the Road. Remember, the journey itself is the destination. Until next time, keep the rhythm flowing, and we'll see you down the road.